All right, we're at the last day of the TAAACC conference, and I am honored to have an interview with the executive director of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, Ms. Miriam Lucky. Miriam, thank you for joining our TAAACC conference, our 35th anniversary conference, and thank you for your remarks as you provided us with the legislative update from a pretty tough, difficult session that we've had and are continuing to have. Please tell us a little bit about what you do and your role at the Legislative Black Caucus.
Well, thank you for having me. We're always great to have community and partnership and
Yeah.
collaboration with TAC. And so the Texas Legislative Black Caucus is a bipartisan, bicameral organization comprised of 19 Black State House members, 17 in the House, 2 in the Senate.
Yep.
And really our charge in the building is to be the voice for Black Texans.
Right.
And all of our public policy decision making, the community advocacy that we like to bridge into the building. And so in reference to this past legislative session, really what our charge was to deliver key historic takebacks for our community.
Right.
Texas, this might have really been labeled as, the land of opportunity session, because of not only having a budget surplus, just having so many avenues to bring back to Texans this session. Fortunately, state leadership had other plans.
Right.
And we found a lot of our work having to dismantle really catastrophic laws and implications to our communities. So pretty devastating where we got hit with SB 17, SB 18 with the anti-DEI legislation.
Yeah.
But opportunities for wins and optimism with HB 12, which expanded Medicaid coverage to expectant mothers up to 12 months, and the Crown Act. And so taking those wins also with the perspective that things are getting tough in the state, and it is to the consequence of Black Texans.
It's interesting that you said that because in your conversation with Charles O'Neill earlier on stage, you were talking about the environment here in Austin and how we're still going into an extended session
Right.
On a deliberate attempt for a party, a group of people in power
Yes.
in Texas are attempting or continuing to do through law and through legislation. How can we equip our community businesses, our chambers of commerce, to continue to be an effective partner to you so that we can voice our concerns of said issues?
Thank you for bringing it up, because unequivocally, the best investment that we can make in the state is to our children, and to the next generation. It makes sense economically, socially, in any context. I mean, we should not be in the conversation of taking money away from our public schools.
Right.
That is one of the basic charges from the state legislature.
Right.
Is to ensure education is at the forefront of our funding.
Right.
And so unequivocally, the Texas Legislative Black Caucus is no on vouchers and no under any negotiation or compromise to kind of paint it to paint whatever it is in a bow. You can't mask disinvestment in our public schools in any sort of way. And so that is a platform of TxLBC and standing alongside public school teachers and administrators who are asking for the same thing, and standing alongside those stakeholders. But in working with advocates and organizations like TAAACC, it's putting that pressure on state leadership to say, you're not talking about education in the right way. This is not what we should be talking about. Our schools and districts like HISD are now at the mercy of the state, and that should not be the relationship that we have with these ground zeros that are going to be launching the next generation of Texas leaders. And so
that's a great point. And you said something that the state of Texas, the role of us is to invest in our future.
Right.
And that should be an inclusionary space, because what I've heard of the rationale of these legislation being pushed through, it's a narrative of making Texas great again.
Yep.
Is what the overtones are signaling, and so that is in itself.
And great for who?
Exactly. It's exclusionary
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
my children or
Right.
the future of my community members
Mm-hmm.
because those laws are prohibitive for us to develop. And
Yeah.
so it seemed counterintuitive.
Yeah. But the irony always, for me, comes from, the platform. Texas is the ninth largest economy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That is not possible without Black dollars, Black taxpayers, and Black businesses at the forefront of that conversation throughout the entire, throughout the last few decades, supporting our state through a global pandemic. I mean, Black folks and Black businesses have always been a necessary economic arm in the conversation. And so that is where we should continue to occupy space in, but very proudly boast in our accomplishments in that way and saying this is why we are at the table, because there is no prosperity, there is no anything else without Black Texans.
Absolutely. I mean, we're a significant population in the state. We're not getting our equitable share of state funding through
Right.
our businesses, through our economies, and that's very detrimental
Yeah.
to our community.
Right.
One thing that I can say is whenever I'm in Austin, I see you working very hard for us. Thank you for walking up and down the halls of the Capitol,
Thank you.
trying to rally as many troops as possible so we can blockade things that are against our communities and to endorse things that are for our citizens. So thank you very much, Miriam, and I appreciate you spending time here at the TAAACC conference.
Thank you so much again, and we are just a mirror for folks like you that are the community and wanting to see these come to fruition. So you're the engine behind anything that we do.
Bless you. We're all in this together.